when it really mattered. So anyway, thank you guys for joining. I'm Shelby, Rideout, and I am the owner, creator, and CEO of a company called Bright Signs Learning. And it's all about having our little ones twofold: communicate early with us, using all the benefits of sign language, and it actually leads into early reading and kind of getting them a jump start into finding learning exciting. And it all really begins with communication. So I'm super excited about it. And of course, now during Corona, we're all home. We all have a lot of time with our little ones, and some of us are juggling multiple ages. So you may have a baby or a toddler, and then you're trying to school some other ones or setting up Zooms. So it can be crazy. I am a mom of 4. And so we are in that same boat and gearing up to be homeschooling soon, which is actually kind of exciting. We're getting everybody excited for it. But even if you're doing school, it's still homeschooling because you're setting up the Zooms and everything else. So basically, I know a lot of people probably have questions about sign language. Some of the benefits are known. It's really made quite a wave over the past several years of people, mommies with new babies and stuff, seeing the benefits. And so I want to kind of first talk about some of the reasons that you might do sign language with your baby or toddler or child. And these benefits continue. So it's great with babies, but it continues on into school age and whatnot. So first, I sort of mentioned is that communication is at the heart of child development. Kids' interactions usually begins with parent or caregiver, siblings, goes out into friends and stuff. But a lot of that too is they're picking up social cues and they're picking up visuals from your face. And sign language is a huge part of that as well. You express emotion and things like that on your face. And of course, using your hands. Now, the other side of that coin is that kids are able to communicate, they're able to know what they want before their vocal cords and other physicalities are able to express that. So that's where sign language comes in. If they know, you think how frustrating it is, like you know what you want, but you can't tell someone, you've not been given an avenue in which to do that. So there's sign language. So if a child wants milk and they can sign milk, they can't tell you milk, but we've given them another way to tell you. So that communication is beneficial in a couple ways. Number one, you are able to know what your child wants and you're able to fulfill that need for them, which cuts down on tantrums. And I'm putting that as my number one because if you have toddlers or babies or children, we all know when a child is frustrated and tantruming and it can spiral. So for me, one of the biggest benefits using sign language with babies and toddlers and children is that their frustration level is cut way, way down, and they're much happier because it's just a much freer way to communicate and they're able to tell you what their needs and wants are. The other bonus of that is because you're able to be having a two-way communication. It's not just mom talking to baby or dad talking to baby. It's going both ways. You really feel bonded and there's a real communication. So there's a real growth in that bonding between the two of you, which is really great. I can speak for myself when my kids because a lot of times when you start, you're going to be signing to your child or baby and they're not going to sign back. They're just learning and you're just modeling it. When they first sign that first thing back, and oh my God, that's so exciting because you really feel like you're talking to another human being because it's like a two-way communication. So that's super exciting. And usually once that first one goes off, then they start to really get it. It's sort of like Helen Keller, she did water and then she just started to learn language from there. So it's sort of that same idea. But it is super exciting because for the first time you really feel this like two-way, I'm getting to know my child. We're talking to each other with our hands, but we're talking. The other thing is self-confidence and self-esteem. It kind of goes along with not being frustrated, feeling capable. They're able to communicate. And so it really does give them a sense of self-confidence. And they do have studies for all this stuff. My website, brightsignslearning.com, there's some research on there that you can see. But self-confidence is one. One that isn't talked about a lot, but really is what I based my company on, is that it really does aid in the acquisition of reading skills. And so children can read quite early, and it's actually a really natural way to learn. When you're using sign language, this is also one of the benefits of it, is that your language is processed in the left side of the brain and visuals are processed in the right. So when you're using your voice and sign language, you're activating both sides of the brain. And what this does is first of all, it creates other neural pathways, not to get too scientific, but for when a child's trying to come up with a way to communicate, instead of just going, oh, I can only find the word, they have a visual for it. They're using different parts and it allows them to utilize different parts of their brain, which is really great. And those neural pathways continue as long as they're continuing sign language and different things. It's really great to get those going so that it allows them to kind of learn in a lot of different ways and gives them more ways to retrieve information. What else did I want to say? Oh, here's a misconception. A lot of people, when people don't use or say, oh, I don't want to do sign language, I don't want my child to be speech delayed. And I've always thought that was interesting. I guess the thought is, oh, if I give them a way to communicate with their hands, that will make them not want to use their voice. It actually does not work that way at all. All research and everything else is quite the opposite. Once they start communicating, once you give them the gift of communication in whatever way that is, using their hands, speech is actually acquired. Speech, language, and vocabulary really skyrocket, and the studies they have show that they really gain more, and they test way higher as the amount of vocabulary they have, their speech. With my program, we've had a lot of kids and speech pathologists come because in my program it also breaks down the words. But the kids, as I said, they're using other parts of their brain, so they can hear a T, they can see a T, they can see it written T. So you're giving them all these different ways versus just one, saying T, T. I'm going to go T, T, give them the sign. And so speech is really broken down in a lot of ways, and you see a great improvement when kids are using sign language. And also, if a child is having speech difficulty, they may become more inhibited because they're not being understood. So you give them the sign language, they're understood, and that's most important. And that's, again, where it builds the confidence. They're able to start communicating, and that's what's most important. And you don't want, we're trying to make our children grow bigger and grow stronger. And if someone's having a little trouble with their speech or a lot of trouble with their speech, what we want to do is we want to empower them. And that's what sign language, we're giving them a way to communicate, which is obviously super important. So another question or another start in the process is like, how do I begin this? How do I begin teaching someone sign language? And basically, it's just like a lot of things we all know as moms, our kids model and watch everything we do, and that could be really great sometimes, or you see them do things that you do and you're like, oh gosh, they got that from me. But that's the key, is you just start to model it. So the first sign that I always like to start with, and you can start with other ones, people have started with other ones, but for me, this is the one that I've kind of used with all my kids, is I use the sign for more. And that sort of works. They can have more bubbles in the tub, they can have more toys, they can have more food, more milk. And that sign, I'm just going to teach it to you, is a great one to start with, so you walk away with something, is you're going to scrunch all your fingers together and you're going to tap them together like this. So that's more. Now, understand these are little babies, toddlers, children. They might do it like this. They might do it, it doesn't have to be correct. We're not going for correct. Eventually, actually, they all do it pretty correct. But you'll know and you say, oh, I think that looks like what they're trying to do. And you just say, great, yay. You can also, with more, the reason I like more is that I can say, oh, you want more? And then I'll give it to them. But I can also take their hands and model it. So I'll say more, and I grab their hands, tap them together. Oh, more, you want more. And then I give them more, whatever it is, their Cheerios or whatever it is that they're having. And like I said, once they learn one word, it kind of goes from there, and you start introducing more words, and you'll be amazed at what they come up with. In my program, I teach with a puppet that I have in this video series, and there's a lot of words that come up. And so that's another way that if kids are seeing it, they can go from there. I have one of our customers said, oh my gosh, my son was looking out the window, and I think he was under 2, and he just started to do this, and it was raining outside. And it wasn't a sign he didn't need something, it wasn't tantrum. He was just sharing, oh mom, it's raining. And she was like, oh my gosh, I knew that I hadn't taught him that, but it was so great. He was just kind of sharing with me like what's happening, just sharing the weather. And he just picked that up from watching the series. So if they're being exposed to baby sign language classes or videos or what have you, they should be picking that stuff up along. And of course, it always helps if you are, helping them along and using them when you can as well. Some of the top signs I said more. Milk is a great one. It's like you're milking a cow. I just like to give you a couple of the top ones. Eat is you're gonna have that same hand shape and you're just tapping your mouth if they're hungry. Another one when they're finished, if they're finished eating something, it's this, kind of the hands are open and oh, all done, finished. And then the last two that I'll just give you for this part is mom and dad. Of course, it's nice when they know who we are. And that's gonna be an open palm. And you tap on your chin for mom. You should know all female signs are generally down here. Male signs are at the top. And so dad would be up here. So this is mom and dad. If you put them together, it's parents. So those are the top signs. And of course, you can always learn the ABCs. I think a lot of people probably in high school, most people come to me when they know I was a sign language interpreter for a number of years. And people always come, oh, I remember A, B. But we all learned it maybe in brownies or Girl Scouts or school, something, but we all kind of usually came across a little bit of it. And that's also, children are naturally drawn to sign language. So that's just another reason that you're giving something that is just sort of a natural connect. I think because it's so visual, that kids just really are attracted to it. I can take some questions, and I have some questions. And because I'm on my phone, because I was born before the 80s and I'm not so technically savvy, but so I have my Bright Signs partner here and she's going to feed me some of the questions.
So Crystal Hall wanted to know, what age or milestone should the baby be reaching for you to start the sign language journey? But as well as that, Jess was wondering the same thing.
Okay, so Jess,
yeah, her little one is 11 months old. Is it too soon or too late or the right time?
No, I think that's a great time. So this was from Crystal and also Jess. Hi, thank you guys for tuning in. You know, there's not a wrong time to start. It's never going to harm a baby to start too early if you're just throwing a couple signs in. But I would say, they generally say 6 months. I really started mine more about 8 months. But anytime after 6 months, you can, you know, do it for a little while. I want to say that mine started signing maybe 8 months, 10 months. I have 10 months in mind. That was the first time I got a sign back, maybe. So 11 months is a great time because they really are at that point too, really wanting to communicate with you. So we have a lot of customers on Bright Signs that's a really ripe age, especially between, I would say 10 months, if I'm really narrowing it, 10 months, and then up to 2, 3, 4, and they keep using it. But that, I would say 11 months is a great time to start in there with the signs.
Okay, there's another question. Are the videos that you're talking about on your app?
Yes. So I do have an app. So my company's Bright Signs Learning. We used to sell as a kit, and then we really wanted to make it available to everybody. So we made it much more affordable. We weren't having a problem with the price, but I just felt like I really wanted more people to have it. Of course, now everyone's at home, and DVDs. I had a customer that went out and bought a DVD player because they didn't have one. And I thought, oh, I guess we need to kind of move with the times and be streaming and all of that. So our app is on Google Play and also the Apple Store. And you get 4 videos, and you can have those streaming, or you can also download them, which is great if you're going on an airplane ride or something like that. And someone just sent me, one of our customers sent me on Instagram, sent me a thing of her child on the potty, learning to use the potty. And so it was like on the potty with Polly, and Polly is my puppet who helps the kids learn. So you get all 4 videos on that. And then the app also includes flashcards where they can practice. And that's really where the reading comes in. So they can practice with virtual flashcards. And there's a bunch of different ways they can practice just with the sign language. You can work on that. It practices just with the reading word part. There's a bunch of different scenarios in how you can use that. And then there's also a matching game that deals with letter identification and also phonics. So you can kind of ride that wave as they're interested. And even some of the little ones that you wouldn't think would be interested in learning their letters or even the phonics. Actually, this little boy, he was under 2 and he was on the potty going, puh, puh, pee, when he was playing the letter game. But yes, the most important is the videos. And again, you can use it on your iPad or your phone. So it's very easy to travel with as well.
And this isn't a question, but Karen says her 2-year-old grandson doesn't talk. She needs to learn sign language for him to help him.
Oh,
is what she was saying.
Karen, that's a great idea. That's the other thing. As I said, kids that have speech delays and all this stuff, it's not really a reason to be alarmed. Kids learn at different rates, and we all know that. But it's helpful for us as caregivers, grandparents, parents to we want to help and we want to communicate. We want them to feel happy and give them that gift to express themselves, because that is where it can get frustrating for them. So if you learn some signs, for you guys watching also, on my Instagram, I do, on my Instagram stories, I try and teach a word a day. So they might be more advanced words, they might be children words, but it's just a way that's a non-pressure situation where you can actually start to acquire some signs on the daily basis, aside from the ones that are in the videos and that kind of thing. But yeah, and you'll see kids will you know, be attracted to what you're giving them, and you use your voice at the same time. You know, milk more, and teach them that way. So I think I can't even tell you. My heart is still going because I was like, oh my God, we're not live. So I'm glad that we were able to come on live. This is going to be up, I believe, on for 24 hours on the BabyFirst Facebook page. I think we're gonna be able to put it up on our Facebook page. So please, if you have more questions, I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. I think there's also gonna be some sort of a giveaway. And follow us on Instagram. We're Bright Signs ABC on Instagram and of course Facebook. And our app is available on Google Play. It is also available in the Apple Store. I'm being alerted there's another question, and I wanna make sure I get all the questions.
Is sign language considered a second language? I know there are so many benefits of being bilingual.
Yes.
Would signing count the same as Spanish or Italian?
So as far as does it count? I don't know if, so the question was, I don't know if you could hear it, but they're saying that is sign language considered a second language? It is officially considered a second language. It does, if you take, ASL stands for American Sign Language. You should know if you go to other countries, they have different sign languages. Not everyone follows American Sign Language, but it is considered its own language. It has its own syntax, it has its own word order, so it really does follow the rules of a separate language. I'm not sure if it counts for certain things. I know high schools and colleges even were counting that as a language credit. I think that was in the past several years that they have started to do that, which they should. I mean, it's so useful. I was actually at a Ralph's grocery shopping, and my son had to go to the bathroom. And so I asked him, and I said, oh, I'm so sorry, you know, there's a code on the bathroom. And there was two guys together that worked there. And one guy just started saying like 1, 4, 5. And the other guy was voicing it. And so naturally, because I was an interpreter and just when people are doing numbers, I always tend to do my numbers because I'm not great with numbers. And so I said, oh, 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. And all of a sudden the one guy that was sitting, he goes, are you deaf? And I said, no. Anyway, we got talking and having a whole conversation, but it's just like if you're meeting someone who's Spanish or you know, speaking a different language. So it is very useful. There's a lot of deaf people that you probably wouldn't notice. I notice because I'm a sign language interpreter, and so I can kind of, sometimes I'll see someone signing that other people may not notice. But you do get credit in a lot of places. And my impression is that would only increase. It's really being recognized as a second language, and in the deaf culture, it's something that the deaf culture really wants to hold on to. So yes, it is considered officially a second language, and it holds those same benefits. So that was a great question, because there are a lot of benefits to teaching someone bilingual, whatever language it is, and sign language holds those same benefits, as well as some others, just because it's really the only visual language that we have. So great question.
Okay, there's another question. Mm-hmm. Is there a difference between ASL and signing for babies?
Okay, so really, really great question. So ASL is American Sign Language, and as I said, that has its own syntax, its own word order, and things like is. You would drop a lot of words. You're not going to sign the, so you wouldn't say the book is. You can do that. That's called exact English, which is different. So you would say book good, and you would drop the and is. It's just book good. So that is. What was the full question again?
Is there a difference between ASL and then signing for babies?
Yes. So that's ASL. Signing for babies. The only difference really is it's not that different, because you're using the same signs. ASL also, there's certain things that they don't have a sign for. So you're going to be using an English sign, which is something that was created more so that there's more. So like pacifier, I have pacifiers this, someone made pacifier this. There's not an official word for pacifier. when there's not a word for something. In American ASL, people, they spell it. There's a lot of finger spelling. So in order to kind of avoid that and just make a sign for something, they do English signs. Many English signs are understood by American ASL signers. And a lot of them have crossed over. And now we have like Facebook. So this is the sign for Facebook, FB. It's understood by everybody. Or there's a bunch of Instagram signs. And so there's new signs that are coming up all the time that are being added to both sides. So baby sign, the reason I say it is ASL is with babies, generally, you're not making full sentences anyway. You're saying you want more milk and you're just using the sign. You're not saying, do you want more milk? You're not signing the full sentence. So just by signing the word milk with my eyes up like a question, that's ASL. So yes, it is ASL. If you're borrowing or we are borrowing certain signs that are more considered English signs, then yes, you're borrowing some signs. But I will tell you as an interpreter, even as an ASL interpreter, sometimes you do borrow signs from English. So my program and many of the programs out there are ASL baby signing programs. It just means that the actual signs are American Sign Language signs, if that makes sense. I hope I answered that. Again, thank you guys so much. And if you have further questions, or you can always reach out to on the Facebook. I'm like a 90-year-old woman. What's that?
That you're active on Instagram.
And I'm active on Instagram. So that's a great way to find me for questions. I'm happy to answer them. I'll be active certainly for the next 24 hours for any questions of people watching this, certainly in the replay and all of that. I thank you guys for bearing with me as my technical difficulties to get on my first live, but it was successful, I hope. And to all you moms out there, just, have fun during this corona and just do your best. We're all in this together. We're all in the same position. And take a breather when you need a breather, even if you're just putting your child in the crib, to just take a breath. You're all doing a great job, and all the best.